starting to listen to it more. I'm sorry. I listened to like the first two songs off his album from this year, and I was like, oh my god! Like you could talent wise, I was like, bro, the kid has a musical arrangement,
bro,
that most artists aren't even doing. Who've been around for years, and the way he switches up his vocals and how he uses his voice, I was like, this kid was really talented.
I think the biggest thing for me is because of his off the mic antics and all the allegations that he had and all the things that he may or may have not done, which he probably did. But because of that, it always conflicted me as a person. And it always made me uncomfortable liking him. And people always try to step to me, my friends, you know.
Feminist,
because I did call myself a feminist. And the biggest thing for me was because of that, it made me into a real fan of X. Because I really had to go and listen to his songs and look at his lyrics and really try to understand what he was saying, understand why he was saying it. And yeah, a lot of it is overly violent, overly misogynistic, and it does make you incredibly uncomfortable. But that's the whole thing, and I think there was a lyric that says it. He's singing out the unspoken pain, and he's screaming out aloud. And that pretty much summed up the most violent stuff for me. But even besides that, he had hymns that really just kind of made you feel like no matter how dark or how lost or how scared you are, you could make something beautiful. You could make something that people would attach themselves to. And that was something that I really grew to like about him. And as you mentioned, his range, his willingness to really take a chance, his willingness to really be himself and be authentic and put himself out there. On top of the fact that, like, I'm not going to lie, like, I've only been an X fan for like 14, 15 months.
It's like 2 years.
Like, I didn't know him before the fuck Drake shit. When he came out saying fuck Drake, I looked him up. I discovered Look at Me like most people. I love that song. And then when I saw him at Rolling Loud, bro, that was it for me. When I saw him at Rolling Loud, the way he was able to move that crowd and make people go batshit in mosh pits. Like, I've been to raves. I've been in mosh pits. I've had my fair share of parties. But that shit looked amazing.
And I can honestly say, and we have to be honest, he really is this generation's Tupac for these younger kids. For like someone who's my sister's age, who's like 20 and younger.
I think everybody kind of wants to make him like into this martyr of like this whole twisted thing. My biggest thing with that is for all the people that want to take screenshots of articles of his allegations and take quotes and all that stuff, that's fine, man. You can do that. Go ahead. But if you're going to do that, you got to give the full context. You also got to share his fucked up background.
Hot tag. Bet. There. Okay. Oh, so I just want to put this out there because I know Pete's not going to go into the full detail, but I will. John Lennon was a horrible, shitty father. He beat his then wife, cheated with Yoko Ono, who like gets no blame for being like the ultimate homewrecker. Oh, and on top of that, he was, like I said, he was a shitty father. And he did drugs. And like all the Beatles were on Quaaludes, the same thing that Bill Cosby got popped for. But don't tell anybody that, because like all those musicians were on Quaaludes and doing all types of foul shit. Every last one of the Beatles. Think of your favorite rock stars. Some of them were all drug addicts. Most of them did horrible shit to women. Some of y'all out there even... And this is what got me when I saw like a lot of self-proclaimed black feminists out there talking shit about X, saying he's a horrible person and like, oh, this is what you get. What I've always noticed with chicks like that is usually their fathers aren't in their lives and they hate all men. And they think men have to change, men are always the problem. And I get that, yes. To an extent, men as a whole are conditioned a certain way, but it's like we like to forget that, and particularly when it comes to black boys, they're kind of like the most unprotected people in this country. And we just saw like a kid a couple days ago, I think it was in Boston or Philly or something, was shot down by a cop. Was
about Maryland?
I think it was Maryland,
yeah.
Shot down by a cop. 13 years old. They accused him and some other kids in the car of committing a robbery, and they ran for their lives. And they got shot and were murdered on the spot. You can look at the prison pipeline for young black boys. We constantly act like the hellish environment that we raise black kids in is healthy, and I could totally get started on how, like, if you just look at the foster care system and how black parents lose their kids for almost anything, and black children go through horrific shit in the foster care system and no one says anything, and black kids go missing and no one says anything. Like in DC last year, like in 1 month, like 60 black girls went missing. Nobody said shit. My big issue is we act like the conditions that these kids are growing up in has absolutely no effect on the people they become. And X was a product of an environment that was pretty fucked up, dark, and depraved. And yeah, he was raised by his grandma. He went through a lot of shit. I'm not gonna kill this young man for things that he did. It's like, you look at J-Rock. He didn't start out as the person he is today. He went through a lot of shit. He grew up in Nickerson Gardens. How many of y'all out there who are out there talking shit about a lot of these kids from the hood would actually live in their hood? You wouldn't survive 5 seconds. You food. You're not even food. You're like you're a snack. But my thing is, with this kid, he went through a lot of shit. All of us at 20 years old, Pete, me and you, if we think about all the things we did at 20 years old, and we ended up dead early, people will be like, "Oh, well, they're scumbags."
I get what you're saying, but let me hop in here for a second. I think the biggest thing is I don't want to excuse what he did or what he didn't
by
do. By
no means.
Just because of his environment. And shout out to Jackie. She said all feminists don't have daddy issues. So, yeah, they don't. I don't think Kenny said all of them did. I think he just said some of them. But the biggest thing for me is, especially the reason why he really resonated with me, is, I was a father, I was a grandfather away from being him. There were times where I felt so dark and scared and lonely, and I really turned to the alternative music scene, like in middle school and high school, to really let that anger out. And I never really found a way to kind of feel that again until I started listening to X. And especially with how rough 2018 has been for me, it's really, really meant a lot to me. So I can only imagine how an 18, 19, 17-year-old who doesn't have the same emotional efficacy that I have and the same experiences that I have, where I've been able to learn about communication and learn how to deal with the different shit that I'm feeling. So someone who's 17, 18 who doesn't have that and hears X, I could only imagine what he really meant to them. And especially as he was trying to change his life and really trying to, do a complete 180. And as much as we really, and I think that's the biggest thing, right? Which is what you're saying. We don't know if it was authentic because we didn't have enough time. We think it's authentic just by all the people he touched, all the different hip-hop cosigns he got.
No, it's definitely authentic because it was videos of him, I think it's PB and Rock, the dude with the long-ass neck.
Yeah.
He released a video of like him talking about, he was super excited. He's like, man, once you learn to control your vocal range and all that, you can do anything. Yeah. And I'm like, the kid was a genius in his own right. It's almost like if you took a microscope and put it on Jimi Hendrix. I'm not saying he's Jimi Hendrix, but you put a microscope on Jimi Hendrix, the dude from The Doors, I'm spacing out. Jim Morrison, cats like that, and say, oh, no, you're a piece of shit. Chuck Berry. Bunch of cats. Hell, most of these musicians
are fucked up people.
Thank you.
Period. That's it.
Bro, if you can communicate through music in such a way that you make thousands of people cry, like, you're tapped into some shit that most people are afraid, like, it wakes them up in the middle of the night. Some things that they're subconsciously growing through. And I'm not going to shit on this cat the same way, you have your heroes. Well, guess what? Chances are someone in your life that you think is your hero probably did some foul shit that they'll take to their grave. And you probably did it too, but we don't judge you for it. You luckily have the time that you got a chance to grow. And all these people saying, even the people who are saying like, give us X back and take Russ. Like, yo, that's fucked up. You don't wish death on people. Yeah. Unless you're Jerry Sandusky, then you know what?
Don't tell me you didn't think about that saying that tweet though.
I laughed. I was like, y'all some assholes. I was like, and then Tekashi 6ix9ine, the whole street.
My last point on this whole thing, and the thing that really bothered me
we go all day on this.
If you didn't give a fuck about X, if you don't give a fuck about hip hop, why are you reporting the damn news? Why?
That's because most of these, like...
Why? Because everybody else is? Because you're clout chasing? Shout out to fucking Spotify.
Rosenberg? Y'all pieces of shit, Spotify.
How the fuck are you going to kick him off your thing?
And then put his name back. Put all his music back. And then
make
break
a
record
playlist
streams.
and make record streams.
For Taylor...
That's some
Taylor
fucking
Swift.
clout chasing. That's clout chasing at its highest form.
That's disrespecting the culture.
And even all these different websites that were like, oh, we're not going to cover his music because he has this past. And now you're giving him an obituary. You're having think pieces about his music. Like,
y'all ain't even interviewing
it's fucking corny.
Anybody who was close to him. Y'all full of shit. Rosenberg.
Exactly.
Like, everybody on like Power Hot 97. They were all saying like, yeah, this kid shouldn't be your hero. Dog. I'm pretty sure.
How can you tell someone who their fucking hero is? First off, you don't know what they've been through.
I don't care who you are. When you die, I was raised a certain way. You don't just shit on somebody right when they die.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a grace period. You keep that shit to yourself. Like, we can go through there's plenty of historical figures who we've realized were horrible people. I'm not going to name names.
Most of them.
We can just start in most of them. We can start in Eastern Europe if you want me to go there. I think you get what I'm saying. But I'm pretty sure at the time the people who put them in office or whatever supported them, cared about them, they didn't think they were horrible people. History tells a different story. All I'm saying is, especially with this young kid, like if this was Justin Bieber, people wouldn't be saying, "Oh my God, he's a horrible piece of shit who did this, and this." They'd be like, "Oh my God, we're so sad Justin Bieber died," or Miley Cyrus, or whoever else. But because it's a black artist, and we can't pretend like white people, especially white males, who do the same shit, even worse, don't get a pass. You want to kill this kid. And by the way, his Twitter account, somebody tweeted out that the charity event that he was doing for domestic violence victims is still gonna go on this weekend. Even in death, he's doing more than some of the same whack-ass fucking media people who probably went to Wyoming and kissed Kanye's ass, sitting here acting like they care about the culture and this young generation, which you probably can't relate to. Because I talked to my little sister and younger cats out there. These older adults, these so-called OGs, and I tweeted this out a couple days ago. If the OGs who claim to be OGs really just old-ass people who managed to not die and didn't do shit in their time on this earth, and want to point their finger at young people, maybe if you actually went to them and tried to understand the circumstances in which they have to survive nowadays, which most people over the age of 40 wouldn't be able to make it in this time period, maybe you'd understand them more and you'd be able to bestow your wisdom upon them in the right way. But no, you want to be this, you want to be some sanctimonious piece of shit about it, like, oh, well, if you had not done this, you'd be better off. Well, maybe if you actually showed some empathy and, you know, been the figure of wisdom that kid needed and been a mentor instead of somebody shitting down his throat saying you're bad and you're terrible and you're irredeemable, then maybe they'd still be alive. Maybe they'd still have some help. But no, older generation don't want to do that. They sold us out a long time ago.
And further off this point, I also tweeted this out this week. Like, this death doesn't do any good. Like, it doesn't bring him to justice. It doesn't help out his victim, which, by the way, his victim has already fucking forgave him. So all you people out there tweeting, oh, don't pray for X. They burned her stiff. Kill X. Well, like, whatever. Like, bro, are you so self-righteous that you don't understand that the people who are the darkest, the loneliest, that have the most sins are the ones you're supposed to fucking pray for?
You're supposed to hug them and say, I got you?
Like, what are you praying for? Are you praying for Louis bags and fucking Apple Watches? Because the point of prayer is forgiveness and helpfulness. And so you should be extending that to someone like X who fucking needs it, and all these other domestic violence people and people who've done dark shit and have been in juvenile hall since they're 15 and fucking try to stab their mom's fucking boyfriend because he was beating up on her. Like, bro, read the whole fucking story. And that's my whole thing is like, yeah, I've liked X. Yeah, I've shared his music. Yeah, I've listened to it. But at the same time, I also share what he's done bad because I want to give you the whole fucking picture so you can decide if you're willing to like his music or not. That same decision that I had to make.
And it's not even that. I mean, like, it's pro athletes who do fucked up shit.
Yeah,
but guess what? Those same pro athletes, like people talking about Martavis Bryant, the Oakland Raiders receiver, how he already may have failed a drug test. You don't know what that dude's been through. Him, DeAndre DeAndre Hopkins for the Houston Texans. I remember listening to an interview with him and Arian Foster.